Coming up in this episode of It's Lift Tour Time, I get into somewhere I'm not supposed to. And it's Lift Tour Time! Now to the first lifts, which are some old Otis which have been horribly modernised. But these lifts are actually quite fast, they go nice and fast, 3 metres a second.
Doors closing. Doors open. Lift going up. Doors closing. Doors open.
And now to the next lifts, which are the strictly bed lifts only. These lifts are some old Otis which have been horribly modernised. But before we go inside one of these lifts, let's take a look at the outside call button, as luckily the outside call buttons haven't yet been removed. And just look at this, these lifts used to be some really rare, vintage, high speed, high rise, really advanced vintage Otises with touch sensitive buttons, and they've horribly modernised them. I don't believe it. How can they have so little taste in lifts? How could they modernise an awesome touch sensitive Otis with crappy generic buttons? And also, these lifts are rather weird, as usually when they don't want ordinary people to go in a lift, they either add RFID readers on the outside or a keypad, or they can add the keypad and RFID readers inside lifts. But here they've done something different. As to call these lifts, you have to phone up security on an intercom, tell them where you want to go, then they send a lift for you and send it to where you're going. But I managed to get in one of these lifts by going in as someone came out. But security noticed me on their CCTV camera, and he didn't want to let me ride the lift. How mean! And as you can see, the ground floor button is flashing inside of it, where security are repeatedly pressing the ground floor button at their end to stop the lift from going anywhere. That is really mean. I really wanted to ride this lift. Security are watching me. And after I left these lifts, throughout the rest of the hospital going in lifts, I just had that feeling that I was being watched. It appears to be that security's keeping an eye on everyone, but they didn't keep an eye on me that well, as I wouldn't have been able to get into where I managed to get to at the end of the video. But before that, let's go to the next lifts, which are a set of 3 lifts, and the lift on the left only is a non-stop lift, where it does actually stop at all the floors. They've disabled all the buttons to make it into a non-stop lift. These are also some old Otis which have been horribly modernised. Now to the next lift, which is a strictly fireman's lift and cardiac arrest lift only. But that's not going to stop me riding it. This lift was one of the last surviving original old Otis ones, but it's now been modernised. So disappointing.
Doors closing. 15th floor. Doors opening.
And now to the next lifts, which are the bin lifts only. These lifts are behind some locked doors which require an RFID card to get through, but looking through the crack in the door you can see they've been horribly modernised and not worth wasting my time trying to get into one. And now on to the next lift, and finally, something interesting at last! Yes! A vintage, original, old Otis!
It's a vintage original old Otis. This lift is so old and it's really awesome.
And now to the next lifts. These are also some old Otis lifts which have been horribly modernised.
Going up. Please mind the doors. Doors closing. Going up. Floor 1.
And now to the next lifts, which are some more vintage old Otises. Yes! And now to the next lift, but this one wasn't working. And now, going back to the tower and going up to the top floor, and let's go see if the motor room's unlocked. So up we walk. Up to floor 16. Oh, it looks really spooky on this floor. Let's look at these passages. And carrying on up to floor 17, where the lift motor room is. The lift motor room is behind 2 sets of locked doors. The first locked door has an RFID reader, which wasn't working as it was unlocked. And the second locked door needs an actual key to open it, but someone had left it unlocked. Yes, I'm going to the motor room. Yes!